Hi, welcome to this session of Gov Conversations. I'm Warren Linscott, Vice President of Product Strategy and Management at Deltek. And in this session, I'm joined by Kim Koster, who's our Senior Director at Deltek, and she's our Senior Government Contracting Specialist. In this session, we're going to talk about the 6 tips to avoiding death by KPI. Hi, Kim. How are you doing this afternoon?
Doing really well, Warren.
Great. With this too many metrics, too many data points for companies to have, how do companies focus in on which metrics are important?
Well, normally these key performance indicators or metrics are centered around overall financial goodness. So we see those around cash, revenue, profit, new orders, growth. Typically, all of them are striving towards making those particular KPIs better in some way. The metrics that we're using, we need to make sure that they're very much attached to our goals. So, for instance, if a metric we're looking at is cash, or a KPI we're looking at is cash, we'll want to be focusing on day sales outstanding or invoice cycles. Okay, so, and then at a lower level, we may want to concentrate on schedule performance index, which really gives us an idea of how well the project itself is performing so that we know we're going to get those delivery or those milestone billings in on time.
Can you tell us what are 6 tips that are going to help companies understand how to leverage KPIs and metrics in their organization?
The first one, Warren, is that you really need to make sure, and I've said it a couple of times, that these KPIs and metrics really work to help you achieve your strategic corporate and operational goals. Let me just give you a couple of examples of some of these metrics. So we have schedule metrics. Schedule metrics, some popular ones are missing logic, missing links, hard constraints. We also have earned value metrics. So things like schedule performance index, cost performance index, to complete performance index, things that really let you know how well your company is performing. And then we have financial metrics. So financial metrics, well, I mentioned a couple before, day sales outstanding, invoice cycles, win rates. There's a million different financial metrics that you can use, and you want to make sure that those are all of the metrics that we're choosing are really striving toward your strategic objectives. The next is that for those KPIs and metrics, you want to make sure that the owner of those metrics actually can affect it. So we wouldn't want a schedule performance index to be owned by, say, the controller of a company. They have absolutely no way to affect that. The third tip is to make sure that your data is good. So there's tools today that will help you make sure that your data is correct. If your data is bad, then that calculated metric, it's going to be bad, right? So you may be driving to the wrong result. The fourth is that you want to make sure that you can benchmark. So you want to benchmark both internally and externally. So you want to look within your company, making sure that you're benchmarking against like projects or even division to division or program to program, but you also want to be looking externally. And there's tools like Acumen Fuse that'll give you an idea of benchmark schedule goodness within your vertical and your size of schedule that you have or your size project that you have. The next is fifth is that you want to make sure that you are incorporating learning. So, you want to learn from your past mistakes and you want to incorporate that. So you want to be proactive and incorporate that into what you're doing and any improvements that you need to make within your business. And the last one is you want to have a way to communicate these metrics to all the stakeholders. So some common ways to do that are through the balanced scorecard or through dashboard. And there's really some really neat and clever analytics tools on the market today that will help you calculate all those metrics and then communicate that out through mobile devices and all other different types of platforms.
Great. Well, there's a lot of good tips there. Making sure that you have the right owners, making sure that they're focused in on the right parts of the business, making sure that you're communicating those effectively. How do you sum that all up, and what are some of the key benefits to project-based businesses when they're following those 6 tips?
Well, if they're following those 6 tips, honestly, they're laser focused on what their company needs to do. So everybody is marching to the same drummer. Everybody knows if we're working on cash, everybody knows that we're working on cash. Cash is king. These companies are able to be proactive versus reactive. They have that actionable information. So we've communicated that via the dashboard or the balanced scorecard, and everybody knows what's happening. So they're able to react and make decisions. They also know exactly where they need to invest. So they can tell what projects or programs or portfolios are the most profitable, and they know exactly where they need to put their money. And they also have satisfied and delighted customers. So organizations that use KPIs and metrics and really make it a part of their culture, they're going to win more business, they're going to be more profitable, they're going to have more cash flow, and ultimately they're going to have delighted customers.
So Kim, those are some really great benefits. What do you think are some of the major pitfalls that companies might run into when they're trying to implement these 6 tips?
Well, you have the culture, so people don't want to change. They don't want to change their processes, and they don't want to change their tools. And also, people don't want people looking inside their silos. So, this makes all of that information up front and center. The other thing is that people need to go ahead and invest in some of these new tools. These tools will help make sure that your data is accurate. It'll actually comb over all of your data, looking for any kind of anomalies, making sure that it's the best data that you can possibly get. If you have good data, as I said earlier, you're going to have good metrics. And those tools will help you do that, and they'll also help you communicate those out to your team and all the stakeholders that need to have that information to make actionable decisions.
That's great, Kim. Well, thank you for this Gov conversation. I really had a nice time talking to you today.